In my first video, I am going to discuss how Wave works. So Wave works through a series of interactions between clients and servers. So clients are the devices you use to access the web, like your computer, smartphone or tablet. They run browsers, example Chrome or Firefox, that request and display web pages. And servers are the powerful computers that store web pages, sites or apps. So when a client requests a web page, the server sends the necessary files back to the client. So before sending the requested file or requested data, there is some processing that happens over the server. The second step is like internet connection. So your device connects to the internet through an ISP, that is the internet service provider. This connection allows data to be sent and received between your device and the web servers. The first steps involved in client and server communication is domain name system. So when you type a web address like www.google.com into your web browser, the DNS translates this human readable address into an IP address, which is a series of numbers that identifies the server where the website is hosted. In order to get the IP address, the client first connects to the DNS server, and DNS server responds with the IP address of the web server. For client and server communication, there is a protocol being followed which is called HTTP and HTTPS. The browser and server communicates using the Hypertext Transfer Protocol or its secure version, HTTPS. So this protocol defines how messages are formatted and transmitted, and how web servers and browsers should respond to various commands. The Hypertext Transfer Protocol is the foundation of data communication on the World Wide Web. Here is a breakdown of how it works. Client-server model. HTTP operates on a client-server model where the client, which is usually a web browser, sends a request to the server, and the server responds with the requested resource. And this is a stateless protocol, means each HTTP request from a client to a server is independent. The server does not retain any information about the previous request. So this is the representation of request and response format. So when you enter a URL in your web browser, it sends a HTTP request to the server asking for the web page. So if you see the request format, we have a GET request. So we'll discuss in detail in the upcoming lecture what are the different methods in the request. So in the request format, you can see there is a GET request for index.html page, and there is some parameters like query parameters that is passed in the request. So we have in the request format. In the request format, you can see there is a GET request for index.html page, and there is query parameters passed. Name is equal to John and age is equal to 30. And the protocol and version number is provided. There is a host address also provided where the request is made. The agent is the client that is requesting the server, like your Chrome browser or Firefox browser or Safari browser, Mozilla browser. Except specifies the request document format. So it's asking for HTML format of the document. So in the response, you can see we have a HTTP protocol specified with the status 200, means status 200 range means the request is successful, and a response OK is there. Content length specifies the number of bytes received as a response, and we received a HTML document as a response. So the browser receives the file and renders the web page. It interprets the HTML to structure the content, applies CSS for styling, and executes JavaScript for interactive features. So let's discuss the components of a web page. So web page comprises of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, which defines the structure and content of the web page. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, which describes the presentation and layout of the page. And JavaScript adds interactivity and dynamic behavior to the web page. Apart from HTML response, we can get other types of response like JSON, XML. But in most of the cases, we get HTML, CSS, and JavaScript as the response, which is rendered by the web browser. So web browser only understands these three and renders. As we discussed earlier that HTTP is a stateless protocol, there are some additional elements that we can use stores pieces of data like cookies. Cookies are small pieces of data stored on the client's device to remember information about the user. And we can also use APIs, which are application programming interfaces, which allows different software systems to communicate with each other, enabling functionalities like fetching data from a server without reloading the page. So hope you liked this video. We'll meet again in the next video. Till then, bye, take care.